There are things in this world that cannot be explained by logic. Today, you will hear 4 real mystical stories from ordinary people who have encountered the inexplicable. Will the elevator go nowhere? Will the dead return from the afterlife? Or will someone who shouldn't be here simply walk past you? Turn off the lights. Let's begin. So, let me tell you my inexplicable story about an elevator. I was going up to the 9th floor. Usually the ride takes 5 to 7 minutes, no more, but not that time. I got into the elevator, pressed the button for the 9th floor, and off we went. Everything was normal, the elevator clicking as it passed each floor. And then, just as I was getting ready to get out, the elevator didn't stop. It just kept going and going. Then I started to notice that I was going for a very long time. But I didn't panic yet. Everything was as usual, the elevator shaking and clicking as it passed the floors. And then I started to get nervous. It's impossible to ride for so long. I remembered what time it was when I got into the elevator because I had looked at my phone and noted the time. So, 20 minutes had passed since then. I had been going up for 20 minutes. That's when I got really scared. I got goosebumps and my hair stood on end. I tried to call the elevator operator. It was useless. Then I tried to stop the elevator. No response. Despite all my efforts, the elevator continued to move as it had been. And I kept looking at my watch, panicking more and more. I didn't dare call anyone. Call the emergency services and say that the elevator has been taking me up to the 9th floor for half an hour. That's crazy. But then, after 40 minutes, the elevator stopped. The doors opened, the lights came on, and I got out on my floor, to my great relief. I was over 30 at the time, but I was so scared that my legs were shaking. I didn't use that elevator for about a year after that. I walked up the stairs. I was afraid of it. It was a mystical fear. I still can't explain what happened that day. All the residents always use that elevator, and I also resumed using it, although I still have a fear that I will be stuck in that elevator forever. I recently ran into an old acquaintance with whom I used to work. I noticed her right away and headed toward her. But when she saw me, she turned pale as chalk and almost fell over. After confirming that it was me and that I was real, she, still in shock, told me that she had been at my funeral almost a year ago. She even gave me my address and described my relatives. She couldn't have known this information. She described the dress I was wearing and how everyone was talking about my illness. It all sounded like nonsense, but it was clear that she wasn't joking and was absolutely convinced that she had experienced it. So we both left, shocked and completely confused about what was happening. This happened to me and my mother a few months ago. On the way to the big store in our area, there is a gas station, next to which there is a large tree with a path running underneath it. There is no other way to get through, only under this tree. Once, my mother shared that she didn't like walking there because it made her feel uncomfortable. So, one day, we were walking from the store under that tree. The sun had already set, but it was still dusk. And then I looked at my mom and saw that she was scared of something. I asked her what was wrong, and she replied that she had seen a strange old man whose face was literally changing. I turned around and also saw the old man, who looked to be about 70 years old. He had a strange gait. I told my mom that it was nothing to be afraid of, just a funny old man. Then I turned around and saw that instead of him, there was a teenage boy of about 15 walking there. The path was straight. No one was walking behind the old man. He couldn't turn anywhere. And no, it was the same person in the same clothes, only 50 years younger. I turned around again, and he was looking at me with a sly look, as if he were joking. I felt terrified. I took my mother by the arm, and we quickened our pace. I wanted to keep walking without looking back, but I couldn't resist and turned around. No one was following us. A few seconds had passed, and the old man was nowhere to be seen. He had simply disappeared. After that incident, I try not to walk under that tree after sunset, but during the day, it feels normal there. A story from my colleague. She went to visit her co-worker, Jilly, a single woman who had been on sick leave for a long time. Jilly greeted her rather indifferently and showed her her tiny apartment. They talked, drank tea with cake, laughed, and gossiped. My friend was sure that there was no one else in the apartment but Julia. Suddenly, she saw a man in the doorway. Quite young, wearing a plaid shirt, he not only did not greet the guest, he did not even look at her. He just stood in the doorway, staring at the TV where the news was on. Julia, noticing her guest's confusion, simply said, "That's Michael. He comes to watch TV and will leave soon." Michael did indeed leave. He just disappeared. When asked who he was, Julia paused for a moment, then sheepishly told a strange story. She had bought this apartment a few years ago. She knew that there had been a fire in the apartment, after which it was renovated and sold for less than usual. She began to settle in and buy furniture. Finally, she bought a big TV. And then Michael appeared. At first, the owner was shocked. She tried to call the police, but the officers only advised her to see a psychiatrist. She wanted to cancel the sale, but a ghost was not a valid reason. So she stayed with Michael. She resigned herself to it and got used to it. He didn't bother her much. He didn't come in often, just to watch the news. And even then, only from the hallway. She learned from her neighbors that a young man had died in the fire. The same one. When asked why she didn't tell anyone, she replied that she was afraid they would think she was crazy. And indeed, who would believe such a thing? Even my friend wouldn't have believed it if she hadn't seen it herself. The world we live in is not always what it seems. Write in the comments which story scared you the most. And check back often. We still have many secrets here. See you soon, if you're still here.